Hey everybody, and Brightest Blessings. Lady Leeanna here with yet another edition of Wicca for today. And I truly hope that you had a good Samhain, a good Hallows Eve. I certainly did. The entire town of Liberty, as well as all the other surrounding counties, were rained out. Nobody was able to get out or go do anything. It was stormy and floody. Everybody was more or less stuck in. I didn't have any friends come over. I guess they were all busy. Some of them did find a way to go out, but not doing the things that I would typically do. My husband was working, or else we could have went out clubbing or out of town. But I don't usually do the clubbing thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I generally would do some rituals in celebration of the Lord and Lady and of my holiday, but I had been doing that all around Samhain, leading up to it, and so I just chilled out, ate candy, watched horror movies, and had a good time of it. I cannot complain whatsoever. I think it couldn't have went any better. As a matter of fact, Austin got me a cauldron of candy. Mounds and Reese's peanut butter cups and Kit Kats, all of that good stuff. And so I sat there and I gorged out and felt horrible the next day, sitting up late, eating all that chocolate and sitting around, But I enjoyed that night, that's for sure. And then my best friend came over and chilled out with us the day after Halloween. But it was pretty good. It was pretty enjoyable. Well, I had been thinking for a good while about doing videos for you revolving around your altar tools. I think that would be a really good idea. And I don't mean cramming them all into one show. I feel that all of your altar tools deserve top billing of their own show. And I don't mean back-to-back shows either, because I have a lot of other material I want to cover. But as the mood hits me, whenever I feel compelled to a particular tool, talk to you about that tool likewise. And there are many of them to cover. Like I said, there's also plenty of other shit to cover as well. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Today, it's going to be about your athame, or ritual dagger. Whatever you prefer to call it. And everybody is different. Everybody has different accents. Everybody is taught to say it different from the beginning of their pathway. I like to call it athame. Just straight, direct, and to the point, athame. That's the way I say it. And so if I say that word, then you'll know what it is I'm talking about. It's your two-sided dagger usually, although a lot of people like the single-edged. And it was in the oldest tradition, black-handled. Although today I've seen them make it with jade or onyx handles with crystal blades. I had myself a kettle horn athame at the beginning of my pathway, and of course it was dull on its edges and its point, but it was a ritual dagger. I wish I had a picture of that to show you, but it was pretty cool, and it was a good starting tool for me. Now, the primary reason why most people prefer a dual-edged ritual dagger over a single-edged is this. They feel that there's not only a cutting downward motion that they perform with their dagger, but also a cutting upward motion when inscribing their symbol over each of the four directions or over their altar likewise. And they don't want a bunch of odd turns or twists while they're performing this ritual. They love to have grace within their ritual and beauty. That's what we aspire to do when we're performing these rituals. It's very important to us, and not for ourselves or for vanity's sake, but because we feel that this is important in conveying to the higher power what our feelings are, or lending the most humblest of intentions to each of the 4 directions. And I can see their point. But you're not actually cutting the air. When you're performing these rituals, you are actually quite simply inscribing, drawing your symbol in the air. Mind, muscle, memory. If you are performing it the same way each time and getting accustomed to it, getting used to it, doing the same thing all the time, your mind, muscle, memory will do the drawing of it. And with grace and beauty, without the turns and the twist of the rest. And your heart, your spirit, your higher power, the symbol itself and the dagger that you're performing this with will know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. They'll know what's in your heart. You know, your heart will know itself what it's doing. Your spirit will know itself what it's doing. And all the others will be in tuning with you to where they will know what you're doing. And you have to just simply have faith in that. It's very important, you know. But your dagger is typically the tool that would sit within the south, representing the element of fire, ruled by the emotions of anger, war, sexuality, sometimes love, especially within this day and age, because roses, red roses, have been given time and time again in representation of love on an emotional level as well now. These emotions rule the blade, and sometimes can have a big bearing as to how a blade is used in the negative ways, as a matter of fact. But it is the south tool, unless you want to use a sword, and that would be its alternate. Or scissors, that could be an alternate. Blades are usually the representation of the south. The emotions that rule over it, like I said, anger, lust, love, greed, war, blood, all of these things. It can sit in the south side by the door of your temple, can be alternated with a sword if you're using it by the gate of your temple in the south side, or to cross a door there in that side if you're going to do a door in the south side. But there are those groups that feel that your athame is an east gateway tool instead of a south, and that it would correspond with the element of air. Any groups that I've ever seen has put it in the south. But I'm not saying that any is wrong, because it really depends on where you come from or what your path is, really. But there are those that put the wand or staff in the south as your fire tool, and your dagger or sword in the east to represent your air tool. Look at your Rider-Waite deck of cards, by the way, or any of your tarot cards, I believe, for that matter. They use the sword or the dagger as an air tool. They use your wand or staff as a fire tool. But this is an idea that was brought about from the Church of the Golden Dawn as far as witchcraft and Wicca is concerned. I guess you could say church, or you could say pathway or tradition. But it was brought about from them, they believed, or they wanted to lead other people to believe so that they could hold secret their actual belief system. And this is what I've read in several books, was that they like to mislead people into believing that it would be this particular way so that others couldn't copy the rituals or pathway. Anyway, there are those that follow that to this day, and because they believe in it, it works for them, and so nobody can dispute it. Any groups, covenants, or people that I've ever been around, they place their dagger, their sword, their scissors, and scissors are a New Day's tool, but it is a blade, and it is corresponding in the same direction as your dagger or sword, whether you're putting it as air in the east or you're putting it in the south as fire, and corresponding with blood. Now, if you are one that does place your dagger or sword into the east side corresponding with air, then it would correspond also with the emotions, as far as communication, as far as venting and airing out your feelings, as far as freedom, okay? And those are some of it. Joy, contentment, happiness, celebration, visitation with others. It is that which it corresponds with. If you place your dagger, sword, or your pair of scissors in the east gateway. If you place it in the south, which is what I do and all other people that I've ever known, they place their blades within the south. Sorry. Screwing myself up now. I hope I ain't screwing with you guys. But any group that I've ever seen places their blade tools in the south side, representing fire, the color red, the emotions, anger, lust, war, blood, and sometimes negative energies, demonic energy. So it has a lot of emotion behind it. Not many of them are really happy, And I guess, you look at fire and blade, then what can one say? Now, don't get me wrong. Fire and blades are not always bad. As a matter of fact, they're very useful tools. And men quested for it long, long ago, and still do when they don't have it. So, very, very important tools, very well liked and used. But the emotions can be kind of negative as far as what emotions do rule. The blade, the south, the fire. And, there is love to whatever degree.